So let me begin with you, Chairman. And again, I appreciate all that you're doing within the commission there. And I don't know if it's fair to ask you your personal opinion, but I will ask you your personal opinion about what you believe the risk to the grid presented by the ongoing retirements that we're seeing in nuclear with coal retirements. And just for purposes of conversation here, if you've got a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most severe risk to the grid, where do you put us?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, for the question. Quantification is an inherently tricky business, and I feel so particularly here, but I can tell you conceptually that we're probably clearly at a 5. I say that on the basis just of what we know today of the resilience challenges that have presented themselves in prior weather events and other circumstances. And I say that because of the potential irreversibility of the situation of unit retirements. An individual unit retirement of a particularly sizable plant is a serious matter to the grid, let alone an entire class of power plants. So it's something that, as of today, I'd say merits a 5 ranking on your scale. But I will have a better informed personal opinion after we have heard from the RTOs and ISOs about what specific needs they see and concerns they have in their respective footprints.
Let me ask you about that, because the FERC really has kind of kicked that to the RTOs and the ISOs to define what the concerns are with regards to resiliency. I guess the question is, are they the best organizations to make that assessment or that determination? What about the EROs, the electricity reliability organizations, whether it's NERC, it's various regional entities? What about DOE? How do all the others factor into this? I think we recognize that the RTOs and the ISOs, they don't own the grid. You do have owners of the grid. I understand why FERC moved forward as you did in rejecting the NOPRA. And I understand, I think, where you're trying to go with gathering this assessment back. But does it need to be broader, I guess is my question, than just the RTOs and the ISOs?
I'm happy to say, Madam Chairman, it is broader.
Okay.
The most immediate and directed request was to the RTOs and ISOs to report back in answering some specific questions we put to them. But we have invited broader stakeholder input. I'm happy to say we already have initiated outreach and had some good communications already with Mr. Walker's organization, the department, and with Mr. Baradesco's organization, NERC. And I would expect that to continue, in addition to hearing from other stakeholders as well. So I do agree with your suggestion. It needs to be beyond just the RTOs and ISOs.
Well, I appreciate that, and do feel that is an important part of any analysis that might move forward. Assistant Secretary Walker, you spoke to just cooperation and collaboration that needs to go on. I think you said it's going to take unprecedented cooperation and collaboration to keep the lights on, or something to that effect.
That's correct.
And to that end, then, with the resiliency model that you have indicated is a top priority for DOE, have you or your staff, have you reached out to FERC's reliability or security staff, or been working with the RTOs on this? Tell me how you're going to do
Sure,
this
sure.
coordination.
It's a good question, and I do believe that it does and will take a significant amount of collaboration. And Chairman McIntyre and I've already spoken about this with regard to this model. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to meet with Gordon down at the end of the table here with regard to the New England study. My team back at DOE has already reached out and gone through looking toward integrating all of the work that FERC's initiative will yield. And so we work pretty regularly within DOE with the ISOs and the RTOs, and as well as through the Electricity Sector Coordinating Council. We reach back throughout the United States and with NERC, with all the partners that we've got there. But in this case, it's even bigger than the electric side, because it's really where the nexus to bring together the oil and natural gas component. So presently, we actually have two separate coordinating councils, which we're looking to bring together under this rubric because of the interdependencies between oil, natural gas, and the electric system. So we've already laid out a schedule of all of those participants that we need to pull together to work with FERC, NERC, and the regional RTOs in an effort to ensure that we get the best answer we can. And that's the essence and where this model comes from. Once we've got all of the information and we then can take the actual technical components of the system, which we already have. We've already started gathering that, and that's part of the reason I was out at Northcom with my team last week, is starting to define some of the resiliency work that's already been done in the United States at the Department of Defense and with the Army Corps. That's why there was a specific reason to be there. So we've already started that initiative to gather all of the components that we've got around. In fact, yesterday I met with DOE's security organization to identify work that's been done for resilience at our nuclear power plants and through our NNSA groups to be able to coordinate that and provide that information effectively to FERC as we progress this forward. So we're very much in lockstep with this moving forward because it is so critically important to the national security components that we address day to day. And we obviously can dovetail very well into the marketplace to solve a lot of these issues.
Well, that's good to know, because this is exactly what we need. It's good to know that there's reports, there's analysis, but if we're not really coordinating and learning from other entities and what they have done or how they have advanced, it is not as valuable, I think, as we would hope. Let me ask another question of you, Chairman McIntyre, because there's been discussion about price formation and making sure that that value is in place. And I guess the quick question is how prompt will FERC be when it says that it will act promptly if it sees a need to take action? And I raise this because FERC opened up its price formation dockets just after the polar vortex, a couple months into early 2014. That work still hasn't been completed on price formation. So I think what would be important to know is given the reality of time that it takes, I mean, when you say that FERC is going to take prompt action, does this mean that it's technical conferences or staff memos and white papers? What actually can be expected? And I think we know that oftentimes this is complicated and lengthy, but we also speak frequently about this paralysis of analysis and the situation of this review of ensuring reliability. I raised it 8 years ago, maybe even longer now, since I have raised these concerns, and we continue to see growing levels of retirements. So I would hope that FERC recognizes that we need to move beyond technical conferences and more white papers, that we actually need to see that action. So can you speak to what
Yes, Madam
prompt
Chair,
means?
it's a very valid question. And certainly when I was in the private sector, I shared those occasional
You were pushing
frustrations
everybody
as
along.
well. But in terms of our January 8 order on our grid resilience initiative, there is a certain calendar spelled out there, 60 days first for the RTOs and ISOs to get back to us with their responses to our specific questions, 30 days for stakeholder input thereafter, and then, yes, our commitment to prompt action thereafter. I cannot say now how much time will be involved in such prompt action because it will depend on the quality of the information which we get back, which I expect to be very good in general. But it's something where I have declared it and our order declares it to be a matter of priority for this commission. Those are not words we utter very often. It is a declared priority of the commission now to get this right and to move with speed. And I should say that in the meantime, we have stated as well in the very same order that should any short-term concerns arise within a given RTO or with a given utility, we want to know about it immediately. We will not sit idly by if there is some sort of legitimate concern regarding reliability or resilience of the grid.
Well, I appreciate that. I think it helps that you have been on the other side, and just very recently, so that you know not only of the need, but have been one that has been in the situation where you're urging the action. So I think that will help on the inside as well.